guys, welcome. I'm Gabby, and if you're new to this channel, welcome. So, I usually make videos on traveling and hiking guides, but this video today is going to be quite different because I'll be talking about something that is really important to me and that I believe anyone could find importance in, especially if it's to raise awareness and to help educate people, because I know a lot of people haven't heard about what I'm about to talk about. So valley fever is a fungal infection that is found in the soil of the desert, and when the spores are inhaled, it can make a home in your lungs, and that would result you to get sick. The fungal infection could start reproducing, which causes this infection to spread. It does mention a lot when I was reading into valley fever that some groups are more affected with valley fever than other types of groups of people. Commonly at risk groups would be African Americans, Filipinos like me, Native Americans, people with a weak immune system, or those who already have pre-existing medical conditions. Why it targets people in those ethnic groups more than others, I don't know, but scientists are still trying to figure that out, and they think it has a lot to do with genetics. It's also commonly called as cocci, but if you ask me to pronounce the full name of that, I probably won't be able to say it right and I will most likely butcher it, so I apologize. Valley fever is commonly found in the Southwest states, such as Arizona, and that's where I'm from, Nevada, California, Utah, New Mexico, and even in northern Mexico. But 2/3 of the people that get it are from Arizona. So it's really more common from where I am, and that's pretty scary because I mean, a lot of people come out here to visit, and I've heard stories of people visiting and didn't know that when they came home they had valley fever, and it's most likely because they came here in beautiful Arizona. But I'm not making this video to scare you. I just want to talk about that this is something that could happen, that this is something that is there. And the thing is, people aren't the only ones who could get valley fever. Your pets can get it too, like dogs and cats. There are many cases of that as well. Anywhere where you pass by the soil or where there's dust, you have a chance of getting it. You could commonly find it in like construction sites or going outside where there's a lot of dust or soil involved. So you could be doing like outdoor activities that has, soil or dust. Dust storms out here that kind of just stirs up the dust, and it just goes with the wind, and the wind just starts blowing it all over. So that's one way of how you could probably get it, and it's airborne. So like just one little inhale and the cocci could just travel to your lungs. Well, some people have symptoms with valley fever and some just don't feel the symptoms, and just some people don't really know that they even had it, and they would recover for the most part, which is fantastic if that's the case. But there are people who get really sick off of valley fever. So valley fever has symptoms similar to COVID. Some of those symptoms of valley fever include flu-like symptoms. So you might think that if you experience these symptoms, it might just be the flu or it might be COVID. They pretty much overlap with each other. Most common symptoms are fatigue, coughing, fevers, shortness of breath, headaches, night sweats, rashes, muscle aches, and joint pains. There's a lot more symptoms that you could get from valley fever. I've heard some really weird symptoms, and I've personally experienced really weird symptoms too. The symptoms could get so serious that it has a possibility to infect the skin, the bones, and other organ infections. And if it travels to your brain, then you could get meningitis. So a big part of this video that I wanted to do was to share my story, and hopefully if someone is going through what I went through and what I'm still slightly experiencing, then I just hope that you're not alone, and I completely understand what it's like to go through an illness, or for many months you think it was a mysterious illness. I just wanted to put this out here first, but I am not 100% confirmed that I have valley fever, at least not yet. I've only taken a blood test for it, and it did turn out indeterminate and negative. But I went to see a pulmonologist, and my pulmonologist told me that there is a high rate for having a false negative. So he does suspect that I have valley fever just from my symptoms, and just from looking at a CT scan of my chest that has a lung nodule on my right lung. There are other tests that you could take aside from that. You could get a biopsy done. They could find out from taking a sample of the fluid from your lungs. He does suspect I have valley fever, and he put me on antifungal medicine. The ones that I'm on is called fluconazole. Honestly, since being on it for like less than a month, almost a month, I saw a significant improvement in my health. So I do feel like it is helping, but I'm not 100% cured yet. I realized there was something odd about my health a few months ago. Actually, this was probably back in July. That was like the month where I realized that my health was pretty shitty. I realized that one day I just woke up completely fatigued, and this was an ongoing fatigue. And it was a different type of fatigue too, but I couldn't put my finger on what or where this is coming from. I do have a blog post that's going to be in the description where you can read about my whole story of how I've been sick for many months, and how I went through this whole journey of never finding out truly what was going on in my body. But I was suffering for so long. I just I just kept letting it be, because I thought, okay, so I take this, I'll probably heal. I just need more rest. I kept thinking that these were other things. I thought this was like more related to my hormones, or I was burning out from work. And I'm a type A type person, so I am constantly finding myself doing some type of work. I love working. I just knew that my brain was thinking faster than what my body could keep up with. My fatigue was so extreme that, and this is not good, but sometimes when I was driving, all of a sudden it like hit me that I was so tired and I got so sleepy just out of nowhere. And I was like, oh my God, I just gotta like get out the road, take a nap, and rest. I was with my friends, telling them that, listen, I'm really tired from driving. I think I'm gonna go nap outside your house before I go back and drive home, like 30 minutes away. And sometimes when I would be with my ex-boyfriends, they noticed like I was just, there's just something odd going on with me. So um I used to go take some scuba diving classes, and I would meet one of my exes. Every time I came back from the class, I was just so exhausted. And I don't even think it was from, you know, scuba diving exactly. Maybe it was part of the reason. But I just thought like I could fall asleep here and then. And I felt like a lot of my energy was just gone. It started off subtle like that. It was like the fatigue, and then I realized I would cough at night, and it wouldn't be like a coughing fit, at least not during the beginning of when this was happening, but it would be like a small cough at night. I didn't take much of it. I started feeling shortness of breath. Like I could just be walking a few feet away and I started feeling something heavy in my chest. Like my chest was hurting sometimes, and I would just be so out of breath. And I didn't think this was normal. Like, I'm really big into hiking, so I could handle more than just a few feet. I love walking longer distances, a few miles. So I knew there was something that was completely odd because, like, how do I just get tired from walking down my stairs? So here was the thing. I one day woke up with a bunch of rashes. They were all over my arms and my upper arms, both of them, and it was horrendous. Here is a photo of it. Not only did I have rashes there, I started getting hives for weeks. They would be like really small red bumps, but also very itchy. And I noticed that I was like itchy everywhere. I always thought like, oh my God, there's always a bug that's just biting me. I don't know why these bugs are attracted to me and are constantly just biting me everywhere. I'm just itchy on my arms, my legs, my stomach. It was just everywhere. They weren't bug bites. They were rashes that are commonly found in people with valley fever. I'm not really concerned about these things. I literally thought, and I know this is like the worst thing to think of. You shouldn't be thinking of the worst, but and by the way, you shouldn't also be Googling like your symptoms and then reading the worst scenarios. Did think, could this be cancer? Could like could I have cancer? Lump was growing, and that was just really scary. Um Here is a photo of the lump that I'm referring to. I don't know. These symptoms were just popping up one after another. I would wake up so fatigued every day. I felt like no matter how much rest I got, no matter how much caffeine I've had, I was exhausted. I just never got my energy back. I don't know what to do. I would just sleep right after work and not want to do anything. So I would just be bedridden from the time I got out of work to nighttime, and then I had to sleep so I could wake up the next morning to go to work. So I'm not gonna go talk about my whole journey of what I've been through, as you could read a blog post about it. Um, like I said, it's in the description. But for the longest time, I didn't know what was going on in me. I went to see many doctors. I spent so much money going to ER visits, and not a single doctor could find out what was going on in me. I've been tested for a lot of things and just been ruled out of them. Like, they thought that I had COVID a few times, and I've been tested 5 times on that, and I've always been negative. They also thought that I had asthma, mono, even though I was negative for that. My blood tests came back normal, so I wasn't anemic. I didn't have thyroid. I didn't have abnormal blood results, and I didn't have a blood clot because I thought that the symptoms that I was experiencing meant that there was a blood clot going on in my leg, and my right leg was swollen one time, and I thought this was connected all together. And my right arm felt like it had this really sore pain to it down to my right leg. My right leg felt pretty much sore for weeks, but I didn't know if it was just like, I thought it was like me straining my leg muscles. I don't know. And then my sister told me that she had a friend who found out she had a blood clot in her right leg, so that's where it led to that. And I got I got an ultrasound on my leg in the ER, and they found nothing wrong with it. It just like, it's really devastating because I had to go through mysteries with myself that just never got solved, and I was in constant pain, and nothing was helping me. I feel like I've just spent so much of my time and hard-earned money going to these visits to never find out. Aside from feeling all those symptoms, I was also put on a lot of meds, and most of these meds didn't help. I was on a bunch of them. I was prescribed an inhaler, not once, but twice, which I still have in case, because they helped me when I was having shortness of breath and when my lungs were feeling like asthma-like symptoms. I have a rescue inhaler that you take daily. I was prescribed steroid topical medicines for my rashes. I was prescribed steroid pills, and then I was prescribed 2 different antibiotics. So the steroid pills slightly helped me, but the antibiotics were not effective at all. And I was on that for a while, but I was making sure that I also had probiotic while I was taking that, because that's just not good for your gut. But it wasn't until, like I mentioned, when I met up with a pulmonologist and he prescribed me antifungal meds, that's where I started feeling significant improvement in my health. Antifungal meds are pretty strong. I've never been on them before, but just being on it for like less than a week, I started feeling the effects of it. I started feeling that almost the same fatigue as I had. but that was also a side effect from these meds, a common one. Being on these meds are not fun because you feel almost just as sick as you were before. Some people are on them for months, it could be up to 6 months, and depending how serious it is, some people are on it for their whole life. There is no vaccine for valley fever currently. I hope they do find a vaccine eventually, but there is nothing for that. Valley fever could definitely infect anyone, and it could also infect healthy people. Like myself, I was really healthy. I was constantly hiking once or twice a week, and I even participated and finished the 52 hike challenge. And that is all I wanted to do when I first moved out here in Arizona. I just wanted to be outdoors. So there was a possibility that from me being outside a lot and being exposed to the dust out there, that I would have valley fever. Fortunately, I couldn't finish this trail. I couldn't go up any more longer because I'm really exhausted. And I mean, I did most of this trail the last time, but I'm really disappointed in myself that I couldn't go up like I used to with no problem. But just walking up here for a little bit, I was already shortness of breath, and it's really hot anyways. So I'm gonna go back down. I'm struggling when I'm just want to exercise, when I used to go hike all the time, and I always feel like my lungs are just affected when I'm trying to go up, when I'm trying to just push myself to, even if I'm like walking slowly, but I still feel like it's just not the same. I mean, I have a whole blog on hiking. I have a whole blog on just being active, and I don't want to be sick anymore. I'm so tired of this. It was just it's just been really sad because I would hike again, but I would struggle with it because I was always like shortness of breath. I would easily get tired, and I just couldn't finish trails, and I had to go back around. It was more challenging. Valley fever could really rob the quality of life in people, and I felt like it robbed mine. I felt like this was not the Gabby that was out there in 2019. I had to keep myself isolated from my friends because I just wasn't feeling like I had the energy to continue to socialize. I would go to work tired and so fatigued that I tried my hardest to put my effort in work, but my performance was just not that good at the same time. And then when I was like speaking with clients, I would be so out of breath. It just wasn't normal. It wasn't how I used to feel, where I was just full of energy. And I thought, wow, I'm in my mid 20s and I'm already feeling all these things. How could it be? Knowing that I've been ill, chronically ill with this for so long. It made me realize even more that you should never take life for granted, that every day is always a new start. Every day is a gift. And if there is anything that you want to do while you are healthy, you should go do it. You should live your life. It's the best time to do it because you never know what life could do to you, what you could suffer through. And there's a lot of unexpected things that always happens to a lot of people. We need to prevent ourselves from getting valley fever. And the main ways of how to avoid getting it is to avoid walking when it's a really windy day, and if there's a dust storm that's going on, avoid certain outdoor activities that are close to the dirt or dust. And for someone who loves hiking like me, it's kind of hard to avoid those activities that we love. You want to make sure when you're out there, possibly working on like your yard, or if you're gardening, and if you are hiking, you should definitely consider wearing a mask like a N95 respirator. If you had skin injuries that involve dirt or dust on it, you should immediately wash it with soap and water. Times when I was just feeling pretty ill, I didn't really want to record myself because I'm not really the type of person who does these things face to face. Or thinking like, you know what, I'm just gonna do it so I could put this in my video to show that being sick with this is like hell. Currently laying in bed and I've been coughing at night. And I just feel like complete shit. But honestly, whatever, I don't care. I am sick and I'm tired of being sick and I'm tired of like suffering and going through this alone. I'm just want to be normal again. I want to be how I used to be, healthy, active, and I am tired of living in fear because I have this going on. I'm tired of these asthma-like symptoms. Like, it's so unpredictable. My throat starts to get dry and feel like it's gonna close up. I don't know when I just have shortness of breath. I don't know when fatigue hits me, and sometimes I wonder why God chose this for me to suffer through this. Lastly, if you want to raise awareness on valley fever, please talk about it with your friends and family, and please talk about your story on social media. And if you aren't going through it, just please talk about it on social media. Like I mentioned, valley fever lacks in funding and there is not a lot of awareness on it because I am Googling valley fever stories and I haven't really came through a lot of personal stories that people have shared. Those kind of things and videos are really nice, especially to hear from other people's perspective and what they went through. You want to help valley fever with more research because there needs to be more research on this. There needs to be a vaccine. There needs to be more ways that we could help people finding the right medicines and just preventing this. I do suggest that you donate to the Valley Fever Center for Excellence to help assist them in the research. So I will provide a link below in the description where you could donate to them. If you are going through this, I highly recommend that you see doctors, and you can read some of the links below in the description to learn more about it. And I also recommend that you join this Facebook group called Valley Fever Survival Support Group. And this Facebook group was started by a mother and son team named Sharon and David Phillip. And ever since I joined it, they've been highly supportive. People that are in that group are just amazing and so strong for sharing their stories and helping out others and giving one another advice on how to get through this. If you are battling valley fever, I have faith that you could get through it and you could survive it, and you are strong. And remember, you are not alone in this. So I hope you guys just keep talking about valley fever. Share it to anyone. Let people know if they're going to travel to Arizona and all the other Southwest states. Just tell them about it.